When most riders think of body position, they'll have some idea of how things should look, and you would think that this is enough to help them get into a good position so they can give the bike what it wants while being able to ride effectively. But even if someone has the perfect image of what body position should look like, there's still 3 big underlying mistakes that many of those same riders make, which means that getting into those positions is almost impossible. And these aren't your typical tweaks you'll see on YouTube, like moving your grip position from here to here, but rather deeper issues that riders have that affect every part of their body position efforts. In this video, we're going to discuss what those mistakes are, how they make things a whole lot harder for you, and what to do instead so that you can get closer to a position that helps you ride more calm, comfortable, and in control. And just to note, to demonstrate this, we're going to be leveraging the Insta360 X5 to help us get those great external shots and explain what's going on. Okay, up first, a lazy lower body. Whether you're riding on the road or track, it's very easy to become passive with the body, and it's understandable. As you concentrate on controlling the bike while monitoring what's coming up and where you're heading, it's easy to switch off to certain things. But this is only going to create difficulty in how you ride, and in some cases, painful ones. For the lower body to do its job, we need to actively engage the lower body and the core to free up our grip on the bars, allowing for a greater level of control with the bike while also being able to get into more ideal positions. With the lower body being passive, our default method for supporting ourselves as we move around and experience the various forces of riding is to engage our arms and grip tighter. This fundamentally makes it more difficult to control the bike, and if you do it long enough, it will start to get painful. Not to mention that it also makes it impossible to get into ideal riding positions too. On the track, this means it becomes a lot harder to get into ideal hang-off positions because without your lower body engaged and your grip too tight, you'll have a natural tendency to keep your head central, and it will feel near impossible to move it to the inside. And on top of that, you'll just find it a lot more difficult to use the bike's controls like steering, throttle, and brakes. And if you experience this tension over a few sessions, you'll start calling for the same arm pump surgery as the MotoGP Elite. And this isn't exclusive to the track either. Now, you don't need to be hanging off on the road, but all the other problems still apply. And this is a trap I've been falling into myself as I've been doing a lot more road riding lately. Because you're going much slower and the body movements and the forces you're experiencing aren't as extreme, I feel it's even easier to get lazy. On a recent long ride out, I suddenly realized my grip was too tight. And as soon as I actively engaged my lower body to loosen my grip, the bike instantly became easier to control. Steering felt lighter and I could use the throttle and brakes with far more finesse. But I'd clearly been tight for some time because when I got home I felt a low level but distinct aching through my wrists, particularly on the right hand. So even though you don't need to move the body too much on the road, the advantages elsewhere are clear. And all it takes is a gentle engaging of the legs on the pegs and tank to create support for your upper body. This is something you'll be doing a lot more on the track and to a higher degree because you hang off more and you don't spend much time upright. On the road, you won't have to engage it all the time, but you need to start consciously thinking about it through the sections of your ride where more control and support is needed. However, you may be trying to engage your lower body, but if you don't fix this next one, you're going to make things a whole lot more difficult. But just before we get to mistake number 2, like I said, all the external shots you've been seeing have come from the Insta360 X5, which until very recently was in a class of 1 when it comes to 360 action cameras. However, DJI have now joined the party with the Osmo 360. I'm genuinely pleased that this is launched because more competition is only going to be good for us consumers, and I'm excited to see how this moves things forward and how it forces Insta360 to keep working to stay ahead. I haven't had the Osmo long, but from what I have seen so far, there doesn't appear to be a huge difference in terms of picture quality, though I will be doing some further testing on the road and track with a video to come on that soon. One big plus for the X5 is the replaceable lenses. With the lenses so exposed on 360 cameras, they're more likely to get damaged. But having the option to replace them means you're just not quite as scared in those more risky shooting situations. And with the Osmo 360 being so new, there's just not the same array of accessories. 2 standout ones are the new ND filters for the X5, which help you create more cinematic footage like you can with the Ace Pro 2, something I'll be testing. And a personal favorite is the GPS Preview remote with built-in mic, which lets you remotely control the X5, capture GPS data for overlays, as well as operate as a mic to capture that glorious engine note. Now, this is a sponsored video, so take all of this as you will, but with a few teething problems coming out about the Osmo 360, even though it is a bit more expensive, I still think the X5 is the most attractive option for motorcycle riders. And if you're interested in picking up an X5, Insta360's summer promotion is now on with discounts on every bundle, and if you buy through my link down below, you'll get the motorcycle kit thrown in too, and 1 TB of cloud storage free for a whole year. But these offers are going away, so make sure you check them out while they're still available. Okay, back to the video and our next mistake, which is mistake number 2, a lack of awareness of your body position. You might know how to use the body and where to put it, but if you don't understand where you actually are, this is only going to make things harder and potentially create some very strange problems, something I experienced myself. Early in my track life, I travelled up to ride Cadwell Park with some friends. It's an old school UK track that's built into the countryside hills, and it's quite technical and takes some time to understand and get right. When you do, it's one of the best circuits you ride, trust me. But anyway, on this visit, I experienced the strange feeling that in certain left-hand corners, the bike felt very difficult to steer, and I really felt like it took a lot of effort to get it to change direction. My mind immediately went to a problem with the bike, or maybe a characteristic of these undulating corners. While back in the paddock, I spoke to a rider coach friend of mine about it, and he just asked me, "How's your grip?" Initially, I thought, well, it's fine. I know the position I need to be in and how to engage my body to keep a loose grip. This is something I've experienced many times before. But with an open mind, I headed back out, but this time I was a lot more aware of my grip on the bars in the corners where I was suffering. Sure enough, in those corners, I had a death grip on the bars, making it very difficult to countersteer and lean the bike over. With that new revelation, I rolled back into the paddock and spoke to that same friend, and after probing what I was doing and heading out again for some more conscious thought, we discovered that I was simply not getting into the right positions in those left-hand corners to be able to support myself with the lower body. So even though I thought I was positioning myself and hanging off in the right way, I clearly wasn't, indicating that my awareness of where my body is was all wrong. And not having that awareness can create a number of issues, from feeling like you're hanging off loads when really you're not, which is exactly what I experienced on my very first track day, or because you know that you need to hang off, your lack of awareness might lead you to hanging off too much, meaning you'll probably grip too tightly, stress your legs too much, fatigue way too quickly, and possibly cause wrist and knee ache. So to get an awareness of where you actually are positioned, you can do a couple of things. The first is to spend some time practicing hanging off your bike while stationary. Record yourself getting into a comfortable hang-off position and play around with where you need to be so that you can comfortably engage your lower body and loosen your grip. When you find that position, note the feelings you feel on the seat and tank and come up with a couple of checkpoints that you can use to reference where you need to be. Then when you head out to ride, spend some time consciously feeling for those references to try and get into those positions while really monitoring how your body is feeling. Basically, you need to create an awareness of where you're positioning yourself so that you can more confidently feel you're getting into the right positions. But what does right even mean? Well, like I said at the top, this is where most riders focus, and it leads on to our third and final mistake, focusing too much on specific positions. I've said this many times before, and I'll say it again. Body position is so much more than offsetting lean angle. How you position and engage your body is about being able to effectively control the bike and move around in a way that gives the bike what it wants. And so much of that sits outside of how you look visually on the bike, as we just discussed in the last 2 mistakes. But riders get so hung up on trying to look like a certain rider or getting stuck in the minute details of positioning on the bike. Listen, riding here versus riding here is not going to make the difference, or hanging half a cheek off the seat as opposed to one whole cheek. All of these little details are just distractions from more important things. And I really would say that body position as a whole falls into that same category, where riders spend just too much time focusing on it at the detriment of everything else. Everything you do with the body needs to come back to how it makes you feel and how it impacts your ability to control the bike while giving it what it wants. A stable mass that doesn't upset it. On the road, this might mean just actively engaging your lower body to loosen your grip. And if you can do that, you really don't need to think about body position anymore, assuming you're not doing anything massively out of the ordinary. On the track, this might be giving up your desire to look like the riding elite and getting into a more conservative position, which just allows you to ride for longer in sessions without getting knackered while riding with more comfort and control too. This is a drum I'll keep beating because these tiny differences in position and focusing too much on body position as a whole is very unlikely to make the difference once you have a fundamentally good position in place. So you have my full permission to move on to something else. If you're looking to learn what the most important skills of track riding are, we're actually hosting a free online workshop which shows you exactly how to begin raising your confidence and track riding level through the proper development of the fundamentals. Link for that will be down in the description. Okay, so you probably have some unanswered questions about body position. For starters, what a fundamentally good position even is? Well, in this video here, I detail exactly that and go over everything you need to know to achieve that in under 8 minutes. And remember to check out the current Insta360 promotions if you're looking to pick up an X5, which I'll leave a link to down in the description too. But outside of that, thank you so much for watching this one, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.